How long is this gonna be? No, seriously, how long
An
you
hour?
gonna be?
Is it too long?
An hour?
Yeah.
Wow, okay. Take a break in the middle then.
All right.
I don't mind, I just wanna know what we're doing. Are we on?
I started recording when I hit the button.
Oh, good. Oh, excuse me, when did you get here?
Right.
Hey, Adam. What's
Hey,
up?
Bill, how you doing?
I'm super. What's up?
I know. So welcome everybody. I am going to leave that first part in because that's just classic. I'm like, how long is this going to be? I'm like, okay, Bill. Welcome to the all new reformatted Adam Messer show. I'm here today with my good friend Bill Cooper, and we just had an awesome breakfast and a little chit chat. And
I'm saying, awesome breakfast, time for a nap.
right? Oh man, this is just the perfect spot. Like kick back and relax and all. And I wanted to interview you. I wanted to talk with you because we met at WRUU. You had your show, the Savannah at night,
right,
with you and Chad Carvel and Louis Clossy and other people over the years.
Yeah.
I had my radio show with me and Bass, Sebastian, my son.
Yeah.
And we hit it off, became friends.
Yeah.
Got a lot in common. For
Well,
everybody.
yours was right before mine, so we got to know each other as we're switching over from one
Yeah.
show to the other.
Yeah.
And it was kind of cool. And your son, you mentioned Bass, Sebastian, I would call him.
Yeah, Bass. Yeah.
And, he was hard to get to talk to.
He's very quiet.
He really into
Yeah.
himself. Extremely good guitar player.
Yeah,
Excellent. I mean, and yet I'm saying, like, I'm going to see him every week. He will talk with me. And I just slowly worked at it.
I think he warmed up to you.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
It was just
yeah.
like, he's a nice kid, but he's a kid, and I understand it.
Well, when we started the show in 2018, that's when I started. He was 15.
Wow,
Yeah.
imagine that.
Maybe right before he turned 15.
Yeah, so he was about 17 when I met him.
Yeah, yeah. And he's been playing music, and he's got that band, that heavy metal band called Krieger that he's been working on. And
Wonderful.
but since last year, you retired your show, I retired my show.
Mm-hmm.
Let's back up for a second. So everybody, if you're still watching, thank you very much, by the way, because most people only watch like the first couple minutes, right? But if you're still watching and you're into this, Bill is. Man, you're a man of many talents and many skills, right? You're a comedian, you're a writer, you're an actor, you're a retired postmaster.
Well, I was a superintendent.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You're married to a lovely lady, Mary Ann. Y'all have been together.
Can't say enough good things about her.
I love
She's
Mary Ann.
just
She
a
is
good
such a
person.
wonderful person.
And as I tell people, if you meet her just for the first time in that, she's always that way. This is not an act.
Yeah, yeah.
She's just a good person.
Well, that's how I am. I'm like this here. I'm like this at work. I'm like this with my friends and
Yeah,
family.
why not?
You're the same way,
True to
just-
yourself.
To thine own self be true, right?
Yeah.
So, but I wanted to introduce Bill so you have a little background. You have postcards from Lowell that you do every week.
Right,
It's
on
a,
YouTube
Yep.
and on my Facebook page.
And it's kind of like a old school comedy skit talk show. Right? It reminds me of like the old school, like night show, like the Tonight Show type thing, where you're talking about like postcards from Lowell. You always have like a story from Lowell, Massachusetts, where you grew up.
These are all true stories. We've been doing this
Yeah.
April 1st this year. We've been doing that for 2 solid years. Every Wednesday, once or twice, I was out of town or something.
Mm-hmm.
But every Wednesday, and here's the thing with Chad Carvel, because he's great at improv,
Mm-hmm.
there's no script.
Mm-hmm.
I might tell him one thing, like, you might get a phone call today, and that's it. I don't
Yeah.
tell him who's calling, what they're gonna
How's it
talk
gonna
about,
go?
nothing. And, and he can run with it, and he says something, and I can run with it, and Mary Ann
You
is
go
our
back and
director.
forth off each other.
And then Mary Ann's there every week too, and she's the director, and she doesn't like to be on camera, that's just her. But every now and then I say, hey Mac, you gotta take the seat.
Yeah.
So I mean, I make sure she gets.
Yeah, she does a good job. too.
Some of her friends watch, and and they want to see her, so I try to get them all involved.
And you started that because COVID was right. We didn't know what was going on with COVID,
It was
and we were
April
all kind of like
2020.
locked down.
It was the beginning of the lockdown, and I saw too many posts on, because people were staying home and not getting out to see people even that they knew, and I saw too many posts, people being scared and unhappy. And I'm saying, listen, this is our generation's World War II. This is our generation's depression. How are we gonna handle it? Being scared, as our parents didn't act that way, our grandparents didn't. You gotta face it and do what's right. And I'm saying, but since I just had the idea, if I give them 20 minutes of laugh once a week, it might help someone.
Yeah.
And that was the whole intention of doing it, giving them a laugh. Because as you know, I get a sense of humor.
Oh yeah.
And I like to share it.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
that was the purpose.
I'll tell you what, that's one of the things I love is like, I love humor and I love levity, and I really enjoy the show. Now I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't watch it every single week, but I do catch it most of the time, right? Because when you're doing it, I'm at work.
That's
and then
fine.
what I do is like because I help Bill with putting it on postcardsfromlowell.com on YouTube, so you can actually go postcardsfromlowell.com. You can go right there and subscribe to Bill's YouTube channel.
Right now,
And then
see
I'll watch
over a year of them that you posted in there.
Yeah.
And as I'm saying, that's great. I know people that say, well, I spent the whole COVID, right, binge watching, whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, well, good. You can get a big bowl of popcorn, sit down and watch Postcards from Lowell. They are all freaking funny. And it's just the way we intended it because I knew who I had. I had Mary Ann and Chad, and this was going to work. I had no doubt that this was going to work. And as I said, I keep it amateur. If there's a mistake in that, we just laugh about it.
That's what it is.
It's not a professional.
Like last week, there was a disconnect with the connection on Facebook.
Right.
And that's wasn't the internet here or wasn't anything.
It was actually my telephone.
Was it?
Yep, because this week we used Mary Ann's, and this is the first week we had none of that.
Oh, okay.
So I figured it's my old cell phone that I only use for that.
Yeah, well, good to know because I was thinking it was like it was going through your internet here, going through Facebook, and it was just
there could be
Facebook, but I think that's really cool that you do that. I like that it's not scripted. I like the improv, with it, and I think it's good, wholehearted fun. It's just something that. If that's your thing, and that's the kind of comedy you like, I like slapstick stuff. I like improv. I like
Oh, you like comedy? You really?
I like comedy. Yeah, I like a lot of different types of comedy.
I even got you on stage one time when I was doing stand up.
Yeah.
And as I say, you have an interest in it. I think you would do good in it, but it's just convincing you.
Yeah. Well, sometimes we all think we're really funny, and I'm not always funny. I'm funny looking, but not always funny.
No, but stand-up really is a craft.
It is.
And
you have to work at it. It's hard. Yeah, it's hard.
And as I'm saying, you're a kid to me.
Yeah, right.
I was 69 the first time I did stand-up.
Yeah.
So it was,
And that was because Melanie Goldie was encouraging you, right?
She was.
Because you're a
I
funny
had
guy.
acted with her, and she says, Bill, I'm hosting a stand-up comedy. I said, oh, come down to see it. Where is it? And the place is no longer there that she was doing it at. But I went down, she said, I'd like you to, to get up there and try it. I said, I've never done that in my life. She said, I'd like you to try it. I said, let me think about it. Then the next week, I said, okay, I got some stuff. She said, hey, Bill Cooper. And it was a very low audience that night. There probably was half a dozen, 7, not counting the comedians that were going up. So there wasn't a big audience. And as I was telling you, they were all 1/3 my age. I mean, they were in their 20s or 30, even less. Some of them are quarter my age. And so I bombed. And when I got off the stage, it didn't bother me simply because, and I really think this, at 69, you're not going to let things bug you that you would if you were 29.
Yeah, right.
I mean, at 29, you're still trying to figure out who you are, where you're going in life.
Yeah.
And if something throws you off, you get upset about it. And I didn't. I walked off smiling. The next week I went back, and the same thing, I bombed. And now, the second time, I walked off determined, I'm going to figure this out. I know, I mean, my whole life, people are saying, Bill, you're funny. And I'm going to figure out how to do that on a stage. It's a whole different deal when you don't know those people.
Yeah.
And you're
well, see, that's what it is for me. Like I like back and forth, a little banter. I felt comfortable being funny because we're both laughing and joking and having a good time. On stage, it's like one way. It's one way communication. You're throwing something out there.
All the eyes are on you. It's a different deal.
Even if it's just a tiny little stage where you're just standing up, even if there's not even a stage and you're just behind the mic, you're still in front of that audience.
You're the focus of attention.
Yeah,
and that gets people that have never done it before. As I said, some of them are really funny.
Yeah.
You sit with them in a room, you're laughing all night long, and they're laughing all night long, but they know they're comfortable, they're within their friends.
Yeah, it's
now
practice.
do that in front of total strangers.
Yeah.
It's just a different vibe.
You can.
And you either want to do it, and I really wanted to do it.
Yeah.
I needed that push from Melanie. I never volunteered to do it, but she said, you can do it. And she saw something I did.
Well, I love how like you got into acting. From acting, you got into the comedy.
Mhm.
Comedy's been a big thing for you, and the acting. I know the acting. You starting to pick some of that back up now a little bit.
Yeah.
I love that you were in our little movie short, The Devil's Due. You know, playing
That was fun to do, and that still looks good. That stood up. Man.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think Josh did a great job with his script. I think Josh did a really good job with the principal photography, and then he and I worked together on directing and that kind of thing, and collaborating on the vibe of it, because the whole thing was with the book, The Devil's Due, that I'm sure if you've seen posters on the wall, Bill's been like, Devil's Due, The Devil's Due. It might even be. Oh,
No,
it's not that one.
It's in the studio.
Oh,
it's in
okay.
the postcard from the whole studio.
But if you haven't seen it, y'all, Bill. So the premise of the book is people make a deal with the devil, and nothing is ever as it seems. You're not going to win when it comes to a deal with the devil. So I hit Bill up. I said, hey, Bill, I said, Josh and I, we want to do this little movie short about the book coming out. Would you be interested in playing the devil? And Bill's, of course, you're like, oh, yeah. I mean, like, that's one thing I liked about you. You'll say yes or you'll say no.
Mm.
It's not a maybe.
Well, if it's no, then I know it's not.
It's not the right fit.
I'll just
or
give you an
whatever.
example of a no. Another young lady in town that I had acted with, terrific actress. Now, she was going to be directing a Shakespeare play.
Mm.
And, she contacts me, Bill, I want you in. I said, okay, I'd never done Shakespeare. And I went to what I consider was an excellent public high school. Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, one time, I think it was about 30 years after I graduated, the principal came in, he was a guest at our class reunion. And he said that this high school sends 94% of its graduates to further school. Because there are private schools that don't do that. That's how much they valued education. So anyway, that was, that was part of the start in what can I say?
I took advanced placement English in high school, and I had an English teacher my senior year. His name was Mr. Beach, and we studied Shakespeare for that entire year. And I got a really good appreciation of Shakespeare. I still have a copy. Actually, I have 2 or 3 copies of the complete works. One of the there's this show that oh my gosh, what's it called? It's a British comedy, and it's something. It was a derogatory name that somebody called him, like the Crow or something like that. But I can't remember the name of it. But it's a comedy show about William Shakespeare, and I always loved reading. I always loved that wit. I love that that humor. Like when he would call people groundlings, they had no idea what he was talking about.
Well, that gets back to my Shakespeare experience. As good as that high school was, never in any of it did I ever have any experience with Shakespeare. I was amazed. I never thought of it when I was going through it. And let me put it this way, I did what I had to do to get through. Math and history were my favorite subjects. The rest, I just did the work to get out of there. I was not interested in education when I was a kid.
I remember when you told me one time you were like, I was just ready to be done with school and went out.
I was.
Yeah.
I was, and I was, one of the things was I was the youngest guy in my class, because when I started school, kindergarten, I was 4 years, 3 months old. 4 years old, kids aren't in kindergarten. That's how young I was. So I was 16 my whole senior year. And at 17, I just turned 17 and graduated a week later. So I was too young, too immature to appreciate the education I was getting. But so, to get back to the Shakespeare, so I had never had anything to do with it. But I said, oh yeah, I'll try Shakespeare. I got that script, and a couple of weeks before the first reading, and I couldn't believe it. I says, I could not get one line in my head. I kept having to run to a dictionary. What does this do? It was like a foreign language. It really is, the way they spoke back then.
Yeah.
And I called the girl that asked me, and I said, listen, you get plenty of time to get someone else. I can't do this. And I've tried. I said, I didn't want to drop out. I don't like to. If I say I'm going to do something, I give it my best shot.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, it's a brick wall. I remember one line, a minute later, I have no idea what it was. I can't even say it again. I said, it's like a foreign language to me, I can't do it. And she tried to talk me out. I said, you're better off now getting someone else.
Right.
Because I've never run into this before. I just don't know what the hell he's saying or what it means. And you have to know what they mean to have the right feeling to say it.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was my experience with Shakespeare. And, I don't regret not doing it. I just regret not being exposed to it.
Yeah, I can understand that. There are a lot of people that I know have never read Shakespeare. They know who Shakespeare is, most of them. I mean, maybe some of the younger folks might not, because of the way things are, but that was just the way it was. But that is I feel like that's a good balance though, Bill, because, when you know if it's going to be a good fit or not, it's better to just call it.
Oh, yeah, seriously. They
So
say, here's the keys to that airplane, fly it. I'd say the same thing. No, I don't know how to.
Yeah, it's the difference between that and then naysaying and talking yourself out of something that could be a good opportunity.
I always tried. I didn't know if I could act.
Yeah.
I was 60 the first time I stepped on a stage. 69, first time I did a stand-up. You know what? I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
That's all. I just have one saying that when someone says, oh, Bill, I couldn't do comedy. I said, you're correct, because you said you couldn't do it.
Right.
If you said, I'd like to try it, you could do it. I'd like to try acting, you could do it. But when you say, I can't do that, you'll always be right when you say something negative.
Yeah, well, Henry Ford said that.
He said,
whether you say you can or you can't, you're right.
That's exactly right. Yep.
Yeah.
You'll always be right.
I like having a can-do attitude, but I also like saying no when it's not a good fit.
When it's not a good fit.
Yeah,
I mean, you just have to say no. And everyone, I can't like everything. I don't want to do everything, but I do have varied interests. It keeps me from being bored. I love it. Marianne 1,000% supports me in everything I do. She has been there all the time. Every time I have a part in a play, or a lot of scat films, and that she would read with me, and it just made it so much easier to learn than read, because I am a slow reader. Once it's in there, it's there for years. It's there forever.
It's like
when I tell you a story about when I was 2 years old, that's exactly what happened, and I remember it. But it takes a while to push it through that cement. But once it's in there, it's good.
Yeah. So, have you ever heard people that don't have an inner dialogue?
What?
An internal inner dialogue. Have you ever heard that?
I mean, they don't throw things back and forth before.
They don't have like a voice that talks to them in their head.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's your conscience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not the conscience. Like, it is your conscience because that is your moral character, right?
Yeah.
But they don't have I didn't know this until earlier this year. They don't have the ability to visualize something, or they don't have where they'll hear a voice talking. They can't have like an inner conversation with themselves, so they don't have an inner dialogue, right?
I have a feeling that's more prevalent than ever.
I was so
And
very
I'm
surprised.
going to put the blame where it belongs.
Well,
on the cell phone.
No.
I just want to go there for 1 second.
Yeah.
Here's the deal with the cell phone. People have it from the time they wake up till the time they go to sleep.
Yeah.
It's never more than a pocket away from them. They're supposed to be doing something else, and they're scrolling and they're texting. The whole thing. And my thing is this. I purposely don't carry a cell phone with me because what it allows is original thoughts to come in my head.
Yeah.
Actual, not something that was on TikTok or Facebook or something, but actually my own original thoughts. This is how I write my own comedy and that. If I was scrolling all day long, or, I wouldn't have that ability. And I'm thinking that they're handicapping themselves by too much exposure to anything electronic.
Yeah. It's just like eating fast food or junk food or candy.
It is.
It's an addiction.
But again, when it affects, the only thing you have your whole life that you can make good decisions with is your brain. You want to be stupid and put drugs in it, that's your call. But if you want to ignore all the intelligence that you can find on there and just go for the silly stuff or the LOL, OMG, you're wasting your life. You got a great instrument there, use it right, but don't carry it around every minute of the day.
Yeah, it's like having icing on a cake. I mean, it's good to have the icing if you want it, you know, but don't skip the cake part because you're bored.
Don't eat just icing every day, morning and night. You wouldn't do that. So I mean, you know, again, I get the thing. My saying is, people say we're related to the monkey. No, we're related to the moth. Because a moth will fly into a light and kill itself, and people will text into a car and kill themselves. So we're probably more related to a moth.
Well, the cool thing is, you know, this is a rarity. You know, I mean, people have newspapers. You know, how many
It's
people?
my old card. Let me see that for a second. I love it.
It's well, what I'm saying is
I go into a coffee shop and everyone's thumb dancing.
this is what people did before to get their news. The
I'm
TV
sorry, I'm
and
kidding.
newspapers.
Excuse me.
You know, they would. You know, you'd read it and then you would formulate your own opinion or your own perception of the
You know
situation.
what I love about a newspaper, seriously? If there's an ad I don't want to see, I just look around it.
You can skip over it.
All right, when you're watching TV or listen to the radio, or even when you're on your computer, they keep throwing ads at you. This way, I know they need advertisement to keep the paper alive. I get that, I don't have a problem with it. But I just skip past the page and go to where I want to go.
Yeah, or you can look at one that you want to see. You know?
And I call it my old card, baby.
Hey, it's
Bring
good.
that thing out. I don't have to show my license to prove I'm old. I got a newspaper.
Well, you know, another kind of tie into that, we were doing our shows on the radio. We
Right.
did our shows on the radio. It broadcasted locally out to the Savannah area, but then they also had the internet component where it would simultaneously broadcast on the internet all over the world when anybody
Right.
wanted to listen to it or
Right.
whatever. But that was something I always thought was cool. I grew up listening to talk radio when I was a kid, Cincinnati, listening to the radio and stuff like that.
WKRP.
Yeah, in Cincinnati, right? No, it was actually 700 WLW was the one I loved.
WLW.
WLWT, baby. And I think it's so funny because in high school, I told you I did AP English, studied Shakespeare or whatever. I love it. I love writing. That's where I'd always written as a child. I used to write little stories and stuff like that. I won a couple little awards in elementary school and stuff like that.
Nice.
But when I got to AP English, that's I think my junior year, I started kind of really enjoying it. But when I had my AP English senior year, I just fell in love with writing. I would write these essays. My friends and I would have these different debates and, you know, higher level thinking, critical arguments.
And it shows. I mean, look how accomplished you are.
Well, and this is what I'm getting to. With the different forms of media, right? Whether it's a book,
Right.
radio, television, internet, whatever, they're great as long as it's in moderation.
And you don't let it own you.
You don't let it own you,
Yeah.
right? And you don't let the advertisements and the marketing that we're inundated as a consumer culture affect you like that. And with your show on the radio, my show, it was similar. They're very compatible. We had, we did similar kind of things,
We always had a
entertainers,
guest
actors, yeah. those
every
kind-
week. You had
yeah,
a guest
yeah.
a lot of time by phone, and our guests were all studio.
And we all had, we would do it not scripted. I mean, I never did, I only had one guest one time that they wanted to do, and it was for them. It wasn't for me, but they wanted to do like a set of questions. So they were like, well, do you mind if we talk about these different areas, right? And so they asked me if I would send them a set of questions. I only did that one time. And I would tell other people, I'm like, I don't like to do that because then you don't know where the conversation is going to go organically versus a guided path.
That's
And
it.
I like the we're just having a casual conversation. Look at the chit chat we're having here. We've gone from over here, spun all the way, and now we're right here, talking about
Ancient art. You know why? Seriously. Again, I don't like to knock cell phone. I understand it. My wife broke down going to volunteer one time on I-16, which is busy as hell. I'm so glad she had that cell phone.
Yeah.
She called me, and I went out, swapped vehicles, and I waited till the tow truck came. I'm just saying, that's what it's
Yeah,
for.
it's a good utility.
And it's a great thing for working. I know
Yeah.
people, for the job, it's excellent if you're on the road and you have to contact customers and that, nothing like it.
Well, this video.
It's
We're
just,
doing this video. We couldn't do this without that technology.
exactly. So I'm not, people think, oh, Bill, you're just anti-technology.
it's
I'm
not
not
that.
anti-technology,
Sure,
I'm
appreciate-
anti-abuse of it.
Yeah.
The other thing that I just want to close on that, and I always get into this, anyone that knows me gets into it,
Yeah.
They used to say when cell phones come out, cell phones didn't make people rude, it just showed you who the rude people were. I disagree with that. It's made people that were never rude.
Yeah.
You're talking to them, you look down, they're not even listening.
Yeah.
So that's rude. I am sorry.
Internet bullies, you know, they would never act like that in real life.
That's what I'm saying.
They would never have the courage to say something derogatory like they do online.
And I'm just saying, and they don't even think they're rude. They've been doing it for so long.
They think they're entitled to tell
To me,
you
it's
that.
heartbreaking to see a family in a restaurant. Every one of them has a different,
Head
not
down.
even talking to
Yeah,
each other.
yeah.
They will never remember going out to eat at that restaurant. And I see tourists doing that. They're taking pictures of everything. Put it down for a minute and actually put it in your eyeball. It's right in front of you. Don't put the world on a plastic lens.
Yeah.
Look with your eyes and put some in your brain.
Yeah, because then you're not experiencing it in real life. You're experiencing it through the lens of the camera.
That's my point.
Which, you know, it's great. It's great because, you know, you can see different things, but, you know, when you have to look at a picture versus being able to feel that memory, you have to look at it and see it versus feeling it. Like, you know, you could think of Savannah. Savannah's a beautiful city.
Fabulous.
Beautiful city. I love it. You're from Lowell, Massachusetts. I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio. We both came here different parts of our lives. This is our home. This is where we love. This is what, you know, the city we love. And I think that's one of the things about doing these kind of shows, like your show, you know, that you had on the radio, then Post Office with Lowell, you know, my show. This is a new format that I'm trying out. You used to do the video all the time at the studio.
Right. All I would do is
you just have it on Facebook and
have it show it on Facebook while we were on the air.
And I'm doing this format because I want to continue doing something with my show, but I'm not going to do it at the same weekly level.
Where you have to be there at that time, and you have to line up your guests for that time.
Right.
That was one of the hard things too. Oh, gee, Bill, I can't come in on Sunday or not. You know, it was hard.
Last minute cancellations.
You only have a week between guests.
Yeah.
So I had to ask people a couple weeks in advance, and then if they didn't let me know and someone else let me know that I had asked, I'd have to say, I'm sorry, I have to move it because, you know, someone got back to me.
I had to do that several times where someone would have to cancel and they think I was available the next week. And I'm like, no, I'm booked 3 months in advance because of the way that the schedule is. You know, and I would try to work them back in. And some people were reasonable and they would be understanding.
Sure, most people are.
You know, some people weren't, and that was fine too, because I was like, well, you know, it's probably better that we didn't do the show then, you know. But I love, like growing up, I grew up sitting around the table was, you know, you could be seen but not heard type thing back when we were kids. But they didn't, you know, we had a TV. I think we had the three stations on the TV. It was a black and white TV.
Yeah.
And I mean, like they had color TV. Yeah, they had color TVs and stuff, but you know, then I remember my grandma getting like a 19-inch color TV, and it was like the big deal or whatever. And now my uncle Donald, he had and my aunt Evelyn, they had HBO when it first came out. And now that was a really big deal because we have all these streaming services, and we have millions of different shows that we can watch at any time, right? But when HBO came out, VCRs were still like $3,000 and $4,000. There weren't video studios where you could go in and get a videotape, you know, on Friday night or whatever. So HBO came out, and all of a sudden you could watch these. It would come out in the theater, and then it hit HBO.
Yeah, shortly afterwards.
Shortly after.
Yeah.
So if you didn't want to go to the theater, or you couldn't go to the theater, you could watch it on HBO. Right, and then there was like other ones like Cinemax and Showtime and all that, but HBO, I remember.
I remember. They came out, it was mostly movies, right?
Yeah.
Then they get into boxing, they get into different events.
Oh, yeah.
Then making their own shows.
We watched that big Mike Tyson box, that one where he knocked the guy out in less than a minute.
Which one? I mean, this
yeah,
guy.
well, it was like an early, like 19, it must have been like 86 or something like that. I can't remember, I just remember that happening because my dad stepped away to go get a drink and he came back and it was over.
You know, you mentioned Tyson. I remember when Ali, when he was known as Cassius Clay, was fighting as a heavyweight champion. And he teed a lot of people off because it was, I am the greatest. And it was all about him.
A little bit.
And yet there was something about him I liked, because that was rare.
Yeah.
You see that in all sports today. I mean, they just have to cheer for themselves.
Yeah.
Cheer, and it's really getting obnoxious. But when he did it, it was totally different. And they always spoke with their gloves, which he could do. And there was something about him that I liked.
Yeah.
And then when he came through and did it, man, this guy is the. And
It's
he's
like
gonna
when
let
Babe
them.
Ruth
He's
called out
standing.
that home run. You know?
Babe Ruth, yeah.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
Babe Ruth called out that home run. You know?
1932 against Charlie Root, the World Series at Chicago.
You know? I mean, when you can pull something like that off, you know, it's not bragging. It's just it's being a little boastful or whatever. But you know, when you've got that kind of chutzpah,
Babe Ruth, just to go into him for 1 minute.
yeah.
I'm thinking he was the greatest athlete of the 20th century. And I know, here's the first knock, he didn't play against black athletes, correct, and that was wrong. I get that. However, it wouldn't have mattered to Babe Ruth. This guy played in the dead ball era.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it took some power to put that out of the park.
Yeah.
They called the guy Home Run Baker one year. He had, I think, 7 home runs, and he led the major leagues. That's how dead the ball was.
Wow.
So they figure if they wound it tighter, it would go farther. And that really didn't come in Babe Ruth. That was probably a little bit tighter. And also, the fences were further away.
Mm-hmm.
And they could legally use a spitball. And the spitball wasn't spit, it was a wad of tobacco on that ball.
Yeah, nasty.
And none of that stopped him. But as good as he was, incredible, his lifetime batting average, his home runs and that, and he did it with 8 games a year less than the ones that are playing now. They have 8 games more.
Mm-hmm.
He also was one of the best pitchers that ever threw a baseball.
Yeah.
And they changed him, when the Yankees got him, they changed him to an outfielder because they needed his bat in the game every day. This guy set a record that still stands as the most consecutive shutout innings in World Series.
Wow.
I mean, no one in any sport, I don't care who you name, dominated offense and defense except Babe Ruth. The only one. So I'm saying, to me, he was the greatest athlete of the 20th century.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think he's one of the best athletes out there. I guess what I'm kind of getting at is you get through and you see different things, right? You experience different things, and you try different stuff. Like when you're talking about Muhammad Ali, Cassius Clay, that was when he was doing it. Like Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth was one of the first. Cassius Clay was one of the first. They kind of set these things, like Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee's another one.
Again, right.
The first, they're the ones that took the risk. They took challenges. They changed things up. They made things a little different. And then everybody else followed along, like, oh well, now I'm the greatest. Everybody's the greatest. You can't all be the greatest.
They make one tackle in football and they stand up and pound their chest. You're getting paid to do that.
Right.
Let the crowd cheer for you. I always said it's a lot sweeter. The cheering's a lot sweeter if the crowd's doing it instead of yourself.
I love that. Let somebody else sing your praises.
And just to finish on Babe Ruth. Remember, he did that on hot dogs and beer.
Oh, yeah. Well,
instead of steroids.
If you look at,
they pumped themselves up to hit more home runs. He tore himself down with hot dogs and beer and still beat everyone around.
If you look at the size of people back then, like the average American size, I think the average height then was like 5'7".
Well, it might be a little higher for guys. Might be a 5'8", 5'9", I'm thinking.
Well, I remember when I was a kid, they said the average height was like 5'9". I don't know what it is now. It might be 5'10" or 5'11", whatever. But it seems like it goes up every 20 years or something like that.
Sure does.
But if you look at Babe Ruth, they always would say he was so overweight. Well, if you look at him...
No, he wasn't. Only at the end of his career.
Yeah, but if you look at him compared to what we consider to be overweight today versus then, and if you look at the folks back then and the era of the folks then versus the folks today, we have a lot more comfortable lifestyle today than those folks did. People like my great grandmother and grandfather, they were born in 1910, 1911, right? They grew up in the Great Depression, went through World War I, World War II, as little kids, like World War I and all. Our family was poor, we didn't have a lot of, whatever.
Same with mine.
And if you look at just the level of comfort that we have today, the cell phone, 10 years ago, people would think, oh my God, I'm going to pay $1,000 for a cell phone. Today, people don't even bat an eye on it. They're like, oh, that's cheap because the new one's, $1,500 or whatever. And I'm like, man, that's a lot. I bought many a used car for less than $500.
I can buy a lot of popcorn for that.
Yeah. So let me ask you, Bill, just to switch over.
Sure.
when you got into these different creative things, right? You tried them out, you tested the waters, kind of see what you like and what you don't like. You know, you like comedy, you like acting.
Yep.
You like to paint.
I've always drawn and sketched. That was my first thing I did. I would read the Sunday papers, and then I would get a piece of paper and a pencil and draw the characters that were in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then go out and show it to my parents. And it actually was pretty good. But basically I was copying what someone else did. I never thought much of it, but I kind of like to draw.
Mm-hmm.
Now my oldest son, Bill, is a natural talent. When he was in 6th, 7th grade, some of the work he did was amazing. He had it for a project one time. His dad, they want me to carve a bar of soap. I don't know what to do. I says, yeah, you got your history book? Yeah. I said, bring it out here. And we flipped through it and I found a marble statue, like of Julius Caesar or something. I said, there you go. After supper, he sat there with a penknife and a bar of soap. When he was done, you couldn't tell the difference between the picture and that. That's the kind of talent I don't have. I like to draw, I like to paint, but I think Chad called it best, is your paintings are whimsical. It's like, you know what it is, you know it's a tree, but you never see a tree with so much orange in it. You never see a sky that's orange. You don't see these, but this is what I know. And enough people have liked that I've actually sold some, so I'm not unhappy about that. And that was never my objective.
Yeah.
I never wanted to sell. Someone come over and said, I'll buy that. He was enthralled with it.
Wow.
Well, and you know,
that's a good feeling though, isn't it?
It's an unbelievable feeling, because I never wanted, I mean, as far as doing comedy, I wanted to act, I wanted to do comedy. And I always kid my wife, I said, you know, get ready to buy your Oscar dress. I think this is the big one. I think that one with Adam is gonna go viral.
Yeah.
But as far as painting, I never thought I would ever. I just did it because I like to do it and to decorate the walls. And as a result, people will come in here and offer to buy them. I say, well, you gotta be kidding me. So it's another hobby.
I think that's cool though, because you know, you have different interests, and you know, you just try it and you do it.
Why not?
Yeah.
You're not gonna live forever. Another saying of mine, I do not want to be in a nursing home someday, sitting in front of a television saying, oh no, this was all I did when I could have done something else. So that's that fear in my future. At least when that day comes, they push me in front of a TV, I'm saying, well, now I can finally watch it. Because I did other things.
I always joke around with my wife and kids that if I get to that point, I'm just going to walk off in the woods and never come back.
Well, you probably will get lost, yeah.
Yeah, I would. I get lost. I get lost in thought now.
I'm going to take a long distance ride in my motorcycle when I get to that point.
Yeah, just hit the horizon.
Just hit the horizon and keep going.
Yeah, so what do you feel like is, for some of the younger folks, what do you feel like is a good way, because you know, we're inundated with consumerism, we're inundated with cell phones, and we're inundated with like these little viral videos and you know, all this other stuff. We're inundated with, you know, just junk food, this, you know, whatever. What's a good thing that you would say to somebody that because you're living in the same era, you've seen all these different things coming up.
Okay, here was the thing with me. It never bothered me to be different from my friends. If they were doing something I thought was stupid, they did it by themselves. Just for an example, when I was a teenager, I used to drive while they were all drinking in the car, and I wouldn't drink. And you know, because I wanted to be different. They never tried to force me to drink. They couldn't have.
Right.
But I'm saying I don't want to be like that. So I think you got to first of all say, what's bad that I'm doing that I don't want to do, but maybe my friends all do it and I'm used to, or it's a habit. And you say, just one of it is junk food. Try cooking at home.
Yeah.
You did that today, and you can cook, and I know. So if you go out to McDonald's once a month and have it, you have nothing to be ashamed of.
Just a little bit of bacon and eggs, you know.
It's people that go there all the time, several times a week. I'm saying, stop. If you make yourself a tuna fish sandwich, it's healthier and better, and a little lettuce and fresh fruit. You know, just I'm just saying, do something different. If you know it's wrong, if you know it's bad, try something different, and you can do it.
I think that's cool, and especially when it comes to creative stuff, because you know, with writing, for example, I've had people ask me, well, when can I call myself an author, or when can I call myself a writer? You know, because I write for the newspaper too, you know?
Yep.
And it's just, I'm not a full-time reporter or anything like that, but I've been writing for the newspaper since 2014. I'll have people ask, well, you know, when I'm like, do you write? No. Well, when you start writing, you can call yourself a writer or don't. You know, it's up to you.
That's exactly what Truman Capote said. These people ask me, how do you become a writer? He said, sit down and write.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's just,
That's
you know,
the same
people are
advice.
always looking for that magic formula or the whatever, and they're like, well, I don't have this resource, or I don't have that resource, or I don't have, I don't.
Lincoln had an oil lamp and a piece of charcoal on a board.
Yeah.
It didn't stop him from becoming a lawyer and a politician and a president.
Yeah.
So don't tell me you don't have this or that. You just saying you won't do it. I get it. As you said, we get back to, I can do it or I can't do it. When you say you can't, you'll be correct as when you say you can't. Even if you don't, if you want to be something and you fail, but you gave it a great try, you're going to feel good about yourself. Oh, well, I know that wasn't for me, but I tried it.
You know, talking about Lincoln, I heard this story one time that somebody asked Lincoln if he was given 8 hours to cut down a big tree. Now, we're not talking about these little trees today.
Right.
We're talking about these big trees that they
Oh,
still
I
have
know,
in the
yeah.
American forests and whatever. And they said, well, if you had 8 hours, only 8 hours to cut down a tree, well, how would you do it? He said, well, I think I'd spend the first 6 hours sharpening my axe.
He was extremely clever. If you read his quotes.
I mean,
Brilliant.
I just thought about that, you know, and that's that kind of, and he was a big guy. He was also a wrestler and very, you know, he was a really.
Well, you used to call it wiry. He was wiry. He wasn't fat, he was tall, and he had nothing but muscle.
Exactly.
You swing an axe like that all day long, you're gonna have, that's a, you know, people
Different-
say go
whole
to gym.
different
He didn't have to
mindset
go to
today.
a gym.
No.
Imagine his hands if he wanted to.
He probably grip the skin
Seriously,
right off
you'd
yours.
never shake hands with him again.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I'm thinking he was too gentle a person to hurt someone, so.
Well, you know, I mean, he did take us out of the Civil War, so he was a very strong character.
He had to, it was
So-
forced on him.
So, I want to know, Bill, what makes you laugh? What kind of stuff do you think is funny?
I've always.
What gets you tickle?
Well, if you want to know some of my favorite comedians, I think at the top of the list is George Carlin.
Yeah, oh yeah, I love George.
And I remember when it was clean George Carlin, when they played it on radio stations, when he would be on Ed Sullivan's show, and that he cracked me up. He was just such a different take. And I love the look in the way you change your voice, you know?
Yeah.
And he always talked like when he was impersonating a woman, oh, Monty.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
It was just, you know, and then when he went to, you know, to the 4-letter words in that, he was still great. He just transformed himself and was unbelievable. Then he got into political stuff and that, if you know me, I don't do political humor. And the reason is, they're funny enough, they don't need my help.
Yeah.
That's all.
Oh, yeah.
And why would you, Johnny Carson said it best. They said, how come you make fun of Republicans and Democrats? He said, why would I want to lose half my audience?
Right.
So, you know, again, I'm not...
Yes. Oh, Ed McMahon.
Yeah, thanks, Ed. Yeah.
Yes, Johnny, good one. Good one, Johnny.
Yeah, anyway.
I love that. I miss that because
I'd say he was my favorite. Chris Rock, loved him. He was new, he was different. I loved his stuff.
Chris Rock's funny. I like Dave Chappelle too.
Dave Chappelle, just getting to him. Dave Chappelle is a genius.
Firecracker.
He's a genius.
Yeah.
He knew when to walk away,
He's from
when to
Ohio.
disappear. Good for him.
Yeah.
You know, good. It's another great state. It's a blue collar state. How do you beat that?
I mean, the Midwest, you know.
Yeah. Blue collar state, hard workers. They know what's up.
It's just like that old song, "Country Boy Can't Survive." He talks about all the different, you know, areas. You know, the industrialized cities were built up around like rivers and fairways and
They
stuff
had to
like
be
that.
right for water power too.
Water power, you know, transportation,
Yep.
things like that. And you know, a lot of those when they were pushing from agriculture to industry or whatever, you still had a lot of rural areas. And I think it's funny. Like I know it's like so abstract when we're talking about this, but I think it's funny because you can have people that come from wherever, and when you have like some kind of common theme or some kind of like when you're talking about you bombed the first time, so you came back and you're like, well, how can I get in touch with my audience? How can I reach them? I'm gonna talk about food. Everybody loves food.
Yeah.
Everybody loves to eat.
We're all connected with certain things.
Yeah, and I think it's funny because I was actually talking to a guy earlier this week, and not about politics or anything like that, but we were talking about the Ukrainian situation right now. Russia invading Ukraine and all that, and he was talking about it. I said, it doesn't matter where you go in this world, people all want the same things. They want to be able to be with their family. They want to have good dinner. They want to be able to laugh and joke and love one another. Yeah.
Yeah.
Be able to make a living for yourself.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. No matter where you go,
To succeed.
No matter where you go, that's all. You see those commonalities because we're all humans. And I think that's the cool thing about like having different varieties of comedy or reading, or if we had only one thing, right, there would be no variety. It would just be like Ford said, you can have any color you want as long as it's black.
All right, and not even to get into that, how smart that was. He wanted everyone to have a car.
Yeah.
And he doubled the pay of his workers because he wanted his workers to be able to afford what they made. And when they drove it home and their neighbors saying,
ooh, wow.
Boy, he has one of those and he's a factory worker.
Yep.
So he knew that was important. You can't pay them peanuts and keep them happy. So he doubled their pay.
Yeah. And speaking of neighborhoods, like, did Ford retire in Richmond Hill right here?
Well, he had several places. One of them was Richmond Hill. And of course he gets a lot of bad press because he was such an anti-Semite. In fact,
I didn't know that.
Roosevelt had to contact him and say, knock it off.
Oh, wow.
Knock it off. You see what's happening in Germany? All you're doing is giving them fuel. In fact, Hitler had a picture of Ford in his office. So this is, he got a lot of bad press. And,
wow.
This was when, well, again, it was a different era in that. For all he did, that stain is going to be on his reputation. And that's the way it is, so.
Yeah, it just goes to show you that sometimes you don't know what a person's like.
No, look how many the mighty have fallen in Hollywood, and look how many people that, we thought, geez, they were brilliant, they were good, they were there. I'm not going to start naming them because it isn't fair, but you know who I'm talking about, whether they were comedians or actors or producers or politicians. It's just that the
this joint is like, if somebody, let's just say for instance, somebody, wants to give off that public image of, they're just the bee's knees,
But you better be if you're going to give it up. And you know what? Here's the best thing, seriously. You don't have to tell people you're honest. You don't have to. I happen to be proud of being honest. And I've mentioned it now and then because I see so many instances of dishonesty. But people will figure it out.
Yeah.
They'll figure out, and the greatest compliments I ever had was when someone would come up to me and say, Bill, you kind of teed me off because you always had an answer for something. You didn't even have to think. You always had an answer for something. But you know what I like about you? And they'll just say something that just kind of melts me that, wow, I didn't think anyone would even notice that. That you never did it to be cruel. That you never picked on someone that you were smarter or bullying them. You did it to get them to respond and to give it back. And something like that, I'm saying, well, good. It just makes you feel good that they figure that out.
Yeah, I work with a lot of difficult people. And I always, when they're not joking around and jibing, but when they're trying to be like really just nasty to me or whatever, I just tell them like, look, I've never had anybody criticize me that's doing better than me.
You know what, too? Just say, I'll give you Bill's cell phone, and he never answers it.
Yeah, I mean, like that's the truth. Like, folks that are doing better than you, they're not going to criticize you. Now, if you're like, say for instance, you're like in comedy, right? You're doing comedy. Constructive criticism is not heckling somebody.
No.
Constructive criticism is saying, hey, Bill, I love that joke. I thought you had a solid landing, but I thought of this little tweak. I just want to run it by you and throw it out there to you.
I'm
what you want.
All ears. I'm all ears. Again, no one's perfect.
But if somebody comes up to you and says, man, Bill, what were you thinking when you tried that joke? I mean, like, the punchline was so stupid. You're not going to even listen to it. Word that they say.
Mary Ann does that to me. This is true. This is why I love this woman. She's totally honest too. I'll say, hey, I got a new joke, and I'll tell it. Right? She's my first audience. If she laughs, it's a keeper. I keep that joke.
Yeah.
And if she said, it needs some work, I said, you're right, it's kind of raw, but it's a good premise.
First
but
draft.
It needs some.
It's a first draft joke.
And then the third thing she'll say, that's awful. And then I'll say, good, I'm keeping it.
See, that's
honest
that's
to God,
good. That's constructive criticism, though.
But if she hates it, I know it's funny to me.
Yeah.
The little 12-year-old me and a certain audience, so I'm keeping that. If she loves it or she hates it, I'm keeping it, baby.
Well, that's the constructive criticism I'm talking about. She's not doing it with the intention.
No, it isn't. No, I didn't mean to point that.
Yeah,
but I'm just telling you how I bounce things off of her.
Yeah, you have to have your anchor. You have like me and my wife. I talk to her, especially about stuff. I'll tell you what, my wife is really good about sizing people up and judge a character type.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been a couple of times where my wife is like, I just don't like that person. And I know if
and she doesn't know why. Probably.
Well, she might not tell me why.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes, but she'll say that, and then she'll say, well, you can still be friends with them if you want or whatever. And I'm like, well, no, I'm not. I'm not really. I'm not going to go against my wife's judgment like that. Because she's been. She wants to make sure that I'm doing good. She has a vested interest in me. She might see something that I don't see. And there have been a lot of people, like, when you're friendly, you're kind, you try to be nice, people try to take advantage of you.
Well, that's easy to
That's
figure
the way
out.
it is.
That's easy. And the older you get, the wiser you
Right.
get. And after a while, you just stop bothering with them and let them figure it out.
I'll disengage. I'll just disengage.
You have to. Yeah, you have to. It's,
No hard feelings, no.
don't let anyone drag you down.
Yeah.
It's not worth it. Again, life's too short. You gotta be happy, and I don't mean happy at someone else's expense. But,
Oh, no.
I mean, you gotta make yourself happy. You can't make anyone else happy unless you're happy.
I laugh harder at myself than I ever laugh at anybody else. And I never laugh at somebody, I laugh with them.
Right.
I mean, like, I just think it's, you can think that you're being funny by laughing at somebody or like making fun of them, but you're not. That's like the lowest of the comedy scale in my opinion. It's not even really comedy. That's just being an asshole.
One time I told a joke and it got no response. This was a room full of people back at Chuck's when we used to have it there.
Oh, okay.
And I said, stop, hold on a minute, one minute, I gotta finish laughing. That was really a funny joke. And then the whole room started laughing at me laughing at the joke that they didn't laugh at.
Yeah.
So there's always a way to pull a laugh out of even a failure.
I love it when when you get somebody that they break that, like they're trying not to laugh, but they know what's coming and they know, or like they might be listening to you and they're like, oh man, this is gonna be a good one, and I love that, like, cause it's just so raw and it's just so unscripted. I love that. That's why I like to do the casual conversations. It's why I love having like just. For example, when I do the newspaper articles, I'll do a little informal chit chat with somebody. I'll tell them, hey, this is not the interview. I just want to talk to you for a few minutes to get to know you a little bit better. Sometimes I know the people, sometimes I don't know. Most of the time I don't know them. I'm trying to find out about, whatever event they're doing or whatever. And then what I'll tell them is I'll say, look, based off of what we're talking about, I'm going to, write up about 6 or 7 questions. I'll email you those questions. You can think about what you want to say or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I will write the article based off of our phone conversation, but more importantly, the email questions, right? And the reason why I do that is because it takes the guard off, like, because when you say, oh, I'm doing an interview, you had guests on that sometimes people would walk in, they're like, they own the studio. Sometimes they come in and they're like cold as an iceberg.
Yep.
Your job is to break that ice.
That was why mine, even though my premise of that show was to let people know what's going on in Savannah.
Yeah.
Again, I saw too many people putting their feet up watching TV 7 nights a week.
Yeah, get out of the house.
When you get plays, you get comedy in Savannah, you get all kinds of good stuff. Get out and see it. So I was trying to introduce the people in the listening audience to actually what's going on, what you're missing.
Yeah, you used to read the things from the newspaper too.
Right. Connect and do.
Yeah. And something else too, like even if you can't, let's say for instance with the COVID stuff, we all went through where we couldn't get out of the house. You do something different. Don't just, like they used to call it the boob tube. Don't be right in front of the boob tube all day. The phones are the new boob tube, And I love that. I love doing that. I love having those, casual conversations, the real conversations not just superficial made of, hey, how's your day? Good. How about that weather? How about how about the Red Sox? Or what, that superficial, mindless chit chat banter that's just cordial and polite.
Right.
Just so you can have some kind of interaction when you're actually in, oh, what are we going to talk about? Oh, I'm in the same area that Bill's working in today. I have no idea what we're going to talk about. So I'm just going to talk about mindless stuff. That's fine. That's necessary. We all do it. But I love having conversations where you get to really know somebody.
But that's your training. I mean, as again, you write for newspaper, you write books, you write, and that's your training is to get to interview, to get to the bottom, to get to,
Put somebody at ease so that they feel
what they used to
comfortable
say,
talk.
though, the who, what, where, when, and why, all the W's.
Yeah, in the house sometimes.
Right, and there's a W in it for the
At the end,
dyslexic.
right? Yeah, you're right. Who and how are same word, just spelled different.
But anyway, but that's your training, and that's nice to see. I did it winging it. When I got that job, Dave, who was the station manager, said, "Are you going to use notes?" I said, "No, I can't use notes." He says, "Why?" I said, "If I'm looking down at my notes, I'm losing eye contact with my guests, and before you know it, I'm losing them."
Yeah.
I sit there, and if I'm looking at them, they know I'm listening to them.
Yeah, being fully engaged.
If they're talking and I'm doing this to find out what my next question, I said, no.
It's different than like you're sitting there talking and you're like, oh, wait a minute, hold on, let me pull this thing. Hey, Bill, this is what I'm talking about. That's different than you're on the thing the whole. Question one.
That's what I'm saying. They might as well
Question two.
not be in the studio.
Question three.
If I can't, I always try to make them feel at home. Chad and I would have a little fun with them. That's why I came up with the game, wine or beef.
Oh, I love that.
That was
a loaded game, Bill.
It was.
You and Chad always stacked the deck against me, no matter what.
Well, no,
I'd be like, man, that volcano blowing up and burning that town down was wine. I'm like, but it was Pompeii, Bill. Wine.
What'd they ever do for you, Adam? Come on.
And then when the time we were talking about bicyclists breaking the motor vehicle lane rules, I'm like, oh my gosh, they just.
Well, this is why I said it doesn't have to be something important.
Right.
Something that bothered you. And Clinton Edmister, one of the best ones.
What he did?
He understood what I was trying to get. I don't want a will-shaken problem that's really bothering,
Yeah.
He came up with, I hate it when I pull the tab off a thing of creamer and the first few drops go on the table.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I'm saying, now you understand what we're after.
Yeah, perfect.
But even though I think it's brilliant, I probably gave him a wine.
That's a stick.
Put your coffee cup where it's going to go. I mean,
No matter what you did, it's your fault. Doesn't matter if there's a hole in the bottle.
And I would say when Chad had his dinner, I said, Chad, that is really so good. You express yourself so well. What a freaking wine! That is super wine. This is such a thing.
I know that one time I gave him a beef. He was like, "What? You get a what? A beef?" I was like, "Yeah, Chad. I mean, if you're right, you're right. Gotta give it to you. You can't. Gotta be honest, right? You gotta be honest."
Yeah. But that was it. Even if we agreed with either our guest or each other, we would just go the opposite to get a laugh.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the whole idea.
That's fine. Are you ever going to do beef and wine on Postcards from Wall?
Chad asked me that, and I'm saying it kind of belongs to the old show. I did that show for over 4 years.
It's over now.
To me, even though I come up with the idea, it kind of belongs there. And I have other.
What about putting it in your comedy routine?
Well, you'd have to. First of all, you'd have to be. It would be with you and someone in the audience.
Yeah.
And that's a possibility. But I mean, I think it would, unless I structure it right, it would just bore the rest of the audience. It would just.
I think it might be funny though.
I don't know. I mean, that's a good suggestion, but I don't like. I'm not. Here's one thing. I'll be honest again. I'm not good at work with the audience work.
Yeah.
I know some comedians right away. Andre Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Hey, he just goes right.
Hey, Vader.
I mean, he goes right after them.
Yeah.
And it's not cruel. It's just fun.
Just hooking you in.
I am not good. I've tried it a little bit at a time, but when you know you're not good at something, you don't want to try it too often.
Well, I mean, it was good. Maybe maybe not that environment, but I think it might take off in the, you know, the stand up. I think it may be funny because the wine or beef, you know, it's kind of like the whole shtick of, you know, whatever.
You would have to, first of all.
It'd be like wine or beef in front of a live audience.
Right, but you'd have to explain the workings of it. There's 3 categories. Wine, like, oh, stop it, you know, you're boring me.
Yeah.
Beef, okay, I understand, you know, it
Yeah.
doesn't bother me, but I get why it would bother someone else.
Yeah.
And then, that's a legitimate beef.
Legitimate beef.
Way to go, we are on the same page.
100%
I'm glad you
USDA
said that.
legitimate beef.
That's it.
Yeah. All right. So the last thing I want to talk about is you are going to have a story published with us in Valhalla Books.
Whoa.
I'm pretty excited about it.
My first thing I've had published ever.
I think it's really cool because it's a very good story. Has a great twist at the end. It's not a scary story, but it's one of those ones you're like, it could have happened.
Yeah.
And you just think about it, you're like, wow, that could have really happened, right? So that was a story that you wrote. You've written poems, right? I know you've written some stuff like with the postcards from Lowell, you know, a couple things here and there. What are some of the other things you're working on? You got any other projects that you're working on?
Well, again,
I don't want to give away the story.
No, I'm not gonna
publish
talk about it. There's enough said about it.
Yeah,
really.
yeah.
It is a short story.
It's really
And I'll just tell you a little bit about how I wrote it. I just sat down and said,
had an idea. And
no idea.
No?
I said, I want to write something.
Oh, okay.
So about what? And I wrote it back in the 50s, because, you know, 50s was when I was really developing into an adult. So I wrote it about that era. That's all I'll say.
You wrote it about the 50s, not that you wrote it in the 50s.
No, not in the 50s.
Okay,
It was written recently, but
I was like, you
I
had
put
this
it in
word
that
for
era
60-something
because
years.
certain things have changed in society
Yeah.
since then.
Yeah.
That's mentioned in there, and it's not that way anymore. So I just wanted how that event affected someone that was closely tied to it, and that's what I kind of zeroed in on. How did that affect this person? And but it just flowed out of the pen. It was like I'm following the pen, and the story is coming out. Once I had that premise, as I just told you, the story just went like that. I swear to you, in less than half an hour, it was done.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's really great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I like the story. I'm going to be putting it in an anthology.
Nice. I am very thrilled.
I am too. I think it'd be really neat. I might actually. I'm either going to make that the lead story or it's going to be the anchor story at the end.
Wonderful. The other thing is speaking of,
It might be the lead story now that I think about it.
I've written 2 songs, and
I love songwriting. I love
one of them
poems.
is copywritten. It is so good. I had it copywritten.
Oh.
And several bands around here, some of them have played on stage with it, and they like it. They hear it once. It's got a great catch to it, and that. And again, I sat down and said, I want to write a song. Had no idea. Well, I'll just say one thing about it. I love trains, the old steam train.
Oh yeah.
So it has mention of a train in it.
Nice.
And the other song I wrote also has mention of a train in it, and it's just, you know, different context in that. But yeah, I'm very proud of them. I am actually, everyone I've let hear that song, they're kind of like, whoa, that's good.
All right, so this is the last one we're going on, Aluminum Pickle.
Aluminum Pickle. Okay, Aluminum Pickle. 50 years ago, my band, Aluminum Pickle, was going gangbusters. It was a garage band. Actually, not a garage band. It was a, you know, what do you call those drive-in thing where you park under the...
A little awning? A little lean-to type thing?
Well, no, but where you park a car, it's not a garage, it's a...
Yeah, like an outdoor, open...
Yeah, but there's a word for it. Anyway, I can't...
I don't know the word.
So that's the kind of band we were. Enough to piss the neighbors off. You know, so I mean, knock it out, stop doing it. My cat sounds better than that. And we think we're getting somewhere if we're getting attention. We didn't care it was bad attention. It was attention.
Yeah.
And we stunk, and so the band broke up.
But it was called Aluminum Pickle back then?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know where I got that from? You ever hear of the band Iron Butterfly?
Uh-uh.
You never did?
No.
They had one or
I
two
heard of
hits
Iron Maiden.
back in the 70s, Iron Butterfly.
Okay.
And so I said, well, aluminum pickle.
A little pun, huh? A little satire.
But basically, again, it's if you watch the show and Lewis and Chad and I are trying to get the band back together. So it's all, again, you know, with a grain of salt. Take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah,
Trust
fun.
me.
Yeah. Well, 50 years later, right?
Yeah.
Gotta have a.
And that 50 years ago may never have happened. Again, you got to know me and my show.
See,
and
that's the thing. I think
that's what I'm saying.
I
So
think it might have been a little, little imagination.
we just don't.
Imagination.
Once we get onto a track,
You
that's
just
it.
gotta go with it.
It was.
You gotta ride that train all the way to the end of the
like
punchline.
Dear Gabby, he would show into the radio show park is that so on the sidewalk.
Dear Bill Cooper, I got a problem. Can you help me solve it?
They would say, hey,
Like, hey kid, I got you.
Gabby, why you parking the sidewalk? I see people walking in the street. I guess it's okay to park on the sidewalk.
Had a guy the other day, like literally happened to me. It was funny that had a guy the other day kept calling me Matt. And he's like, oh no, your name's not Matt, it's Adam. I said, you can call me whatever you want. Just don't call me late for dinner.
Yes, sir.
But
Oh, breakfast.
Ding.
Jeez, I
Or
found out. I
breakfast.
learned that today.
Yeah, well,
no, it's time for my story.
Go ahead, tell your
Adam
side.
said, we're going to do this shoot. We're coming over your house and do it. And I says, good. One of us said, we'll have breakfast. Good. So he comes in, he says, we're going out to eat?
It was Bill that said we'll have breakfast.
It doesn't matter. He said, we're going out to eat? I said, no, we're eating there. I just got to put this thing up. Would you hurry? I'm hungry.
No. I did not say would you hurry. I did not say would you hurry. But I get here, Bill's working on his Facebook stuff.
It'll only take 5 minutes. Yeah, but I'm hungry.
No,
He
I
said,
didn't
I
say
will
what
cook.
I'm
I
hungry.
said,
I know.
yeah, okay.
He's sitting there, we're chit-chatting and like
No,
10
I'm not
minutes
going to
go
interrupt
by.
you as you just did.
No,
me.
I'm not interrupting.
That's what
I'm just
happened.
doing it.
Go ahead.
He's got his version of the story, but so I said, well, I'll cook, Bill. No big deal. He's like, well, man, you're in a hurry. I'm like, that's
I
what I'm
only have
hurry.
5 minutes to post this thing. I've got to get it up.
And I started cooking the bacon, and then I started, cook the bacon,
Potatoes.
cook the potatoes. Yeah, the potatoes going when I got here, and we had a good little breakfast.
Fancy bread.
Yeah.
And
Oh, that
eggs.
was some good bread.
I know it.
That was some good banana bread.
A friend of ours brought that over, and that was the last piece. Mary Ann said on the way out the door, put that on. Adam will like it.
Ooh, I loved it last time. I loved it. I might have to ask Mary Ann if she can either get the recipe or if I can buy it on the loaf from the guy. I definitely would. Well, Bill, thank you so much. I'm wrapping up for the show, but I really do appreciate. I mean, you've been on the show a couple times, been on your show a couple times. I like this new little, just relaxed little format and kind of neat. And I think it's cool that you got all this stuff that you're working on, like with your paintings and the comedy, the acting, aluminum pickle.
I'm retired, and a lot of people don't realize that. You know what I'm saying? I have time. If I don't do it now while I have time, I'll never do it. This is why I do it.
You're retired, but you're not tired.
Nah.
You're like a go-getter.
Yeah.
I like that about you, man. I think
Well,
it's really cool.
why not?
Yeah.
As I say, no one knows when the time is up here. I might as well say I did it, then I wanted to do it and never tried. And that's the bottom line.
That's awesome.
And thank you, Adam. I just want to say I appreciate this.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so everybody, thanks a lot for watching. If you made it this far, woohoo! Go check out Bill Cooper's postcardsfromwall.com, or you can go look Bill Cooper up on Facebook and watch it on weekly. You put it on the thing. But if you want to binge watch it, if you want to be on the boob tube for like more than a couple hours, you got
Everyone binge
good
watches
healthy
something.
Yeah, good clean little thing. So thanks a lot.
Even better, if you really want to enjoy it, have Adam over to cook breakfast for you.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't do that just for everybody, Bill. So say bye.
Bye-bye.